Lightwatch Chronicles, Book 1, Prologue. And as their courage began to fade, they grew more and more fearful of the shadow, for they believed that nothing could stop it spreading, and that their world was doomed to succumb to it, just as their faint hearts already did. But there were stars amongst them who knew the truth, and whose spirit was free from fear. The Arya warriors keep their watch, unseen and unknown, and even a handful of them was enough to hold the shadow at bay. They faced it all, the dark poison of doubt, the cold of loneliness, and the pain of loss. Many had fallen in that battle, but those who remained, mournful of their comrades, kept fighting even harder, for they knew that the time was changing, and a new dawn should be upon them before long. All comes from one that is light, and unto one it shall return. Only the sleeping consciousness knows nothing of its nature and its true power. Those who have awakened the light within are stars, the silent warriors who turn their mind into their weapon against the shadow. They take the hardest path, so others can know peace. While meandering through the labyrinths of lives and rebirths, it happens that some lose the memory of their higher calling. Yet even the sleeping stars never stop searching for it. Still, there are those who keep the inner flame alive and choose to dedicate their lives to following their mission. There are known as Aryas, the noble spirits bound by their inner code of integrity and truth. The greatest amongst them are the Guardians, the legendary 7 great stars who protect the gates of time and space, their quest as old as the existence itself. Many songs and myths were coined about the Guardians throughout the millennia, not all of them remembered. Our world has all but lost its own, but the changing time shall reawaken the faded memories and bring the flame back from the ashes. This story is about 4 young Aryas, a warrior team of minor stars bound together by the power of the crystal. The complex energy structure was created during their training on Saltarian by the High Adepts, with all the knowledge and magic they had. Many years took a special series of mental drills which gradually changed the stars energetically and mentally until one day it became part of their essence. The arcane masterwork looked like a lozenge-shaped gemstone when called upon, so they nicknamed it Crystal. The name stuck. A while ago, the Quarter saw their homeland destroyed in a war with the Shadow. After that, all they had known were the feverish dreams, the pain of loss, and the coldness of foreign lands. After the fall, it was the crystal that had saved their lives. It helped the stars breathe the air of different worlds and heal their wounds. Most importantly, it allowed them to travel, if only they kept together, all 4 splinters. And travel they did. When the enemies are on your trail, staying in one place for too long could be a mistake that could too easily prove lethal. Were they lucky to survive? They could not tell. Life was tough, but it went on, and they tried to make the most of it. They were too young and too well trained to give up. All in all, adventures are good, as they often said. The Quarter wasn't short of them since the fall. For that they partly had themselves to blame. Not all their decisions were well thought through. Oftentimes, the Quarter were too brassy and too adventurous for their own good. Strange uncanny luck seemed to have followed the stars though, as welcome as it was undeserved. It offered the only sound reason why the 4 were still alive through all the fights, the dangers, and the useful nonsense. But it had all changed a few months ago. Chapter 1. Tseri mai verai, the trapped stars. It had been raining since the very morning. Rain trickled down the window, splashed on the road, and drummed on the umbrellas. Heavy clouds, ruffled and rushed by the cold wind, sealed the horizon. "They have rotten springs here," said Nesteri, who stood by the window. His face was young, but the strange weariness and fire in his eyes gave away a time-tested warrior. Nesteri regarded the soaked city below with an absent stare. His ashen hair appeared even more greyish now. The dwelling in Megura was exhilaratingly close to the sky. When looking outside, Nesteri felt like a bird might feel, spreading its wings and gliding through the wind high and higher, the city sparkling beneath. It made him think of Dra, his pet raven and a true friend, a faithful companion of his younger years. Nesteri missed him. Hagel nodded, engrossed in his book, pretending he wasn't there. His slender fingers fiddled with a bookmark. The dark green dressing gown over the white shirt made him look typically high-born somehow, even in those foreign clothes. The main room of their flat was bright and simple, and almost tidy, if not for the pile of crumpled paper on the desk. Tay's domain, one could easily tell. "Yeah," answered Tay, the only one with dark short hair, his blue eyes harboring a faint glow of disquiet. He wore a red shirt, half unbuttoned. The sleeves were messily rolled up on his brawny arms. The star was strumming a guitar. "You don't want to know what their winters are like." "You're right, I don't." "Worry not. Fun awaits you, and soon. That should take your mind off the weather." "Fun, you say?" Nesteri scowled and turned away from the window. His style was ink and watercolors, a black top paired with distressed charcoal jeans. "I hate parties. They're dull and stupid. I wish there was a better way for us to find him." "So do I," Tay shrugged. "And if you have any bright ideas, genius, do share." He returned to strumming. The tune blended with the whisper of rain. Nesteri didn't answer. There were no better ways of finding Farian that he could think of. Of that fight, they did not remember much. A small moon, or perhaps an asteroid, a plain of rocks and dust, cold with cold stars above. They stopped there merely to decide where to go next. Hagal said he had a bad feeling about it. Rightly, albeit too late. The attack came fierce and sudden, as ruthless as the shadow would have it. The Quarta looked death in the eye, again escaping it merely by a hair's breadth. 3 against 4 wasn't a bad score, but the demonoids weren't going to play fair. Their weapon. The Quarta had never seen its kind. The blast that had followed tore the team apart, swallowing everything into the fury of explosion. Burned and wounded. When the warriors regained their senses, there were only 3. As far as they could see, green hills of a foreign land stretched far and further, peaceful. Farian was gone. He was alive, the only thing they knew, else his splinter of the crystal would return to reunite with theirs. "You could talk through the crystal," their teacher said in passing a long time ago. Oh, how they wished that Master Alsver could be with them now. Or that he could have taught them all he knew before the fall. "Why can't we be great stars?" Tay would jokingly lament on occasion. "I mean, imagine that," he would add feverishly. "Travel at will. No artifacts, no nothing. Conjure things. How cool would that be?" His gaze would turn dreamy. The winged guardians of light, great stars were formidable, ancient and wise, and wielded astonishing powers, if the legends could be believed. But the Quarta weren't great stars. They were minor stars, and they were trapped. This planet had taught them what being captive really means. Yet Farin's fate worried them most. If enemies tracked him down, alone he wouldn't stand a chance. And the inevitable aftermath was only a matter of time. How does one find a missing comrade in a foreign world, in a world he doesn't belong to? Many long evenings and a tumultuous storm of ideas yielded one answer: music. Music travels as fast as a thought, Nesteri had said. It could be our messenger. Perilous. I mean both the demonites and locals in equal measure. We could risk too much drawing attention to ourselves like that. Hagal had objected cautiously. Better to risk than to be prisoners here. Tay had cut him off with the careless brazenness of youth. Sounds simple enough. It could work. Let's do it. It was easy indeed. Almost too easy. The last disciple of the legendary bard Dimare, Tay certainly knew his craft, and by light could he sing. Nesteri added to it his spellbinding mastery over words, and a duo was born. Hagal, who shrank from anything public, had managed to get things arranged his way. Writing, his favorite pastime, became his shield. He did contribute with lyrics and volunteered, somewhat too eagerly, for the ungrateful task of admin work. Anything not to be heard singing, huh? Tay chuckled. Hagal casually ignored Tay's jest. He was sketching Elia Rems in his notebook, a gold-winged horse his family crest, and pretended not to have heard. The quartet's music stirred souls. The magic of their tunes was storms and stardust, not of this world. The videos with the mysterious handsome singers swept across the cyberspace like a forest fire. A nomination for the best new band came within a few short months. Unexpected and flattering, it was swathed in a dark veil of danger. Those who shine too brightly attract all sorts of eyes. The quartet knew that. But there was no other choice. The neon colossus of the city sprawled around the bay like a mythical hydra with its multiple heads. Tokyo was unlike anything the quartet has ever seen before. It throbbed with a dazzling, forceful and alien vibe that contrasted sharply with the gentle and peaceful field of the land itself. And yet again, the stars were lucky. They weren't the only strangers there. Quirky tapestry of types, the cosmic masquerade on the streets had readily embraced them as a sea swallows a drop. Nobody cared, nobody noticed. It was almost as good as being invisible. Other than that, the city was far from kind. The stars' extended perception was nothing short of a curse here. Subtle energy currents, toxic and suffocating like smoke, plagued the place. They oozed from everywhere, wires in the walls, countless generators, tangled snakes of electric lines looming overhead. The subterranean trains in their dark tunnels were the worst. The quartet had to master driving. Meditation or sleep amongst the electric noise became a real challenge. There wasn't much the stars could do about it except sealing their flat with energy shields. Simple, but they did keep some of the harmful rays at bay. The shields were of no help against another pestilence, however, small electronic objects omnipresent here. Hagel tentatively made peace with laptops, but refused to handle phones. "They give me a headache," he had declared. "Well, there is that, but I've been through worse." Tay's stance was less barbed, particularly since he had discovered that the small flat boxes, although they burned his fingertips, could play music. "Check this out," he had said, showing off his playlist, as if Hagal could be convinced. Nesteri's view was different from both. They didn't understand. They didn't see it what he could see. Behind the glimmering screens, there was an endless library there, uncharted. It could readily tell him anything this planet had to share. Browsing through it made the star think fondly of his academy days spent in the vaulted chambers full of books. Nesteri had never imagined that gaining knowledge could be that easy. He eagerly learned about the world they were trapped in. He found out what the locals valued most and how the social media worked. It was his efforts that had made the quarter's message heard. If someone said to Tai that Nesteri had a passion of any sort, Tai would laugh him in the face. But the unyielding thirst for knowledge could perhaps come close. Ding! A phone screen lit up, startlingly bright in the gathering dusk. Nesteri walked across the room to the table. Tai threw him a questioning glance. Just an event reminder. Nesteri said, switching off the screen. He tossed the phone in his fingers as if it were a shuriken, pensive for a moment. Pale streaks of light ran up his hand. I'm pretty sure they must be on our trail by now, he remarked, talking to no one in particular. That wouldn't surprise me. Tai's mouth tightened. Look up the floor plan and the exits while you're at it, and send me a copy. Aye, Captain. Tai put his guitar aside, got to his feet and stretched. The clock on the wall was giving him an unambiguous hint. Time for us, Tim. Get ready. He rustled through the grey zipped covers on the sofa and picked one marked with his name. Let's see what we've got here, he muttered. The sleeves of the rented suit were a bit too short again, but the rest seemed fine. Tai took out the tie, the cufflinks and the shirt. He had looked up earlier how to put it all together. The shoes were also there in a canvas bag. Huh, check this out. It actually looks alright. His voice soon came from the hallway. What? Terry walked in to witness the preening scene. He scowled disapprovingly. You enjoying this, aren't you? Well, Tai's smirk became slightly awkward. I think it does look kind of fit. Nesteri grimaced. Seriously? You know what we are packing ourselves into, right? I bloody well do. It could be a trap. Possibly. And what of it? It's still an adventure of sorts, Tai retorted, fumbling with his bow tie. This neck ribbon is lame, though. Nesteri shrugged and went back to the main room. He returned wearing a jacket, jingling the car keys in his hand. Hagel was with him. Ready? Sure. Tai ran fingers through his hair and winked to his reflection in the mirror. And anyway, he added, since we are stuck here, we could at least try and enjoy some of it. He looked over at Nesteri. What do you say? Nothing. Exactly. You know I'm right. By the time they reached Yokohama, the skies had cleared. The sunset broke through the clouds and scattered gleam on the wet streets. From the tall glass door stretched the carpeted path, vividly red in the last of daylight. The altar of photographers bristled with cameras and ladders on both sides. Dense facial hair covered some faces, still a strange sight, even after all these months. Otherworldly sharp in their black and white, the stars headed towards the entrance. 3 long shadows ran after them on the ground, thin and deep. Fans surrounded them, jostling and chirping, asking for autographs. It's them! Tai, Nesteri, we love you! They shouted, snapping photos. Sign here! 2 girls in pink, a scrawny guy with green hair, a hooded group wearing rags and chains, a young woman in office uniform with their notebooks out, a whirlpool of hands, phones, and eyes. Please! The phoning throng pressed close around them. We have to get out, Nesteri muttered. Agreed, Tai nodded. Worse than fighting the bloody demonoids, this. He took a deep breath and tried to push through. Tai! Sign here! Here! New fans barred his way, and someone grabbed him by the sleeve. I want a photo with you, Tai! All right, that's enough, enough. A gaunt man in his mid-30s emerged from the crowd, gently but resolutely moving fans aside. He wore a black suit with a standing collar, which gave him the air of a security guard and a monk, both at once. "Please follow me." He gestured to the quarter. All three exchanged glances. "My name is Ito." The man introduced himself with a slight bow. "I'm here to take care of you." His glossy black hair was so perfect it appeared fake. "Was anyone supposed to meet us?" Tay asked softly in Saltarianese. "Not that I know," Nesteri replied. "Please come with me," Ito insisted. "Everyone is waiting." He ushered the quarter to the entrance. The grand hall was dazzlingly white and gold, lit with cold white lamps. Perfume scents mingled in the air. The foyer buzzed with talks and whispers. "Could you spare a moment to—" Two journalists jumped up to the quarter, recorders out and ready. People nearby turned their heads. "Just one question!" More reporters hurried close, but Ito waved them away. "One question!" "Not now, please. There is no time right now," he said, resolutely making his way through the congregation. "Our apologies." The quarter breathed out a sigh of relief. "I'm glad they organized someone to meet us," Hagel said. "Very thoughtful indeed." Ito cut through the hall to the double-chrome door, wide open. He escorted the quarter to their seats, showered them with courtesies, then bowed and merged into the crowd. The stars were left to a dull spectacle of announcements, applauds and speeches, speeches and applauds and more announcements, repetitive like a pendulum swing. Tay and Nesteri made quiet jokes. Hagel was silent, contemplating with idle curiosity the ridiculously sparkly suit of the presenter. And it was their time to come up on stage. Led by Tay, the stars got up and stood there dutifully smiling, half blinded by the hot spotlight glow. "And welcome, welcome, welcome!" the presenter roared with unfaded enthusiasm. "Congratulations, you must be excited!" he added, offering the quarter a crystal square with their band's name engraved on it in gold. "This award must mean so much! Congratulations again, and here to the future! Now, your words!" "Well, thank you," Tay said simply, stepping towards the microphone. "We are honored." He handed the award over to Nesteri. Nesteri turned the square round in his hand. Cut facets glimmered with rainbows. It somehow brought the memory of the Crystal Mountains. Tay nudged him with the elbow. But of course," Nesteri added hastily, leaning closer. "A great honor indeed." The audience cheered, invisible in the shadows. Of Farian there was no trace. The party was as boring as the ceremony itself. Nesteri had declared that he would drive, a neat excuse to refuse the inauspiciously looking drinks that were served here. Hagel and Tay had a quiet bother of watering theirs down. Quarter couldn't afford to lose their presence of mind. Not now, not in a place like that. The slow torment of hours dragged and waned away. It was getting late. "I can't sense him," Tay said curtly as all three gathered in the corridor by the exit. Suppressed annoyance rang in his voice. "For light's sake, haven't we yet made enough?" "I can't send him either," Nesteri frowned. "Still, shall we split and have another look?" "We may just as well," Hagel said, "tiring as it is." A girl in white uniform floated by with a tray of champagne, but Nesteri shook his head. "We're good, thank you." If Farian were in the room, the stars' extended perception would let them know. They would recognize his presence, just as he would recognize theirs. But all was deathly still. He did not come. Meanwhile, the party raged on, shaking to the rhythm of the convulsing lights and the cacophony of music. "It's truly such a pleasure to meet you in person," a willowy man in his 40s sat sipping his cocktail. He introduced himself as a music magazine editor. The thick red wooden frame of his glasses matched the color of his watch. I would like to arrange an interview at some point when it's convenient. A younger journalist by his side nodded readily at those words. Thoughts exactly, a lady in a silver dress echoed. In a silver dress echoed. She waved to a waiter and had her empty champagne flute exchanged. A diamond ring sparkled on her finger. Our listeners would love to hear from you. Such an achievement. Cheers! She added, stretching her glass towards Nesteris for a toast. Nesteri clinked it with his orange juice. Thank you. We would be much obliged, he answered politely, but his mind was somewhere else. Nesteri scanned the room, again hoping. At this point, he wasn't even sure what he was hoping for. So, what are your plans for the future? The man who asked was short and stubby, with a low voice and dark piercing eyes. If you're looking for a new producer, I know someone who... Tay appeared from behind the bags, throwing a short, knowing glance. He went past, swift like a shadow, and pushed a ball of paper into Nesteri's hand. Nesteri made excuses and left the company to their drinks and jokes. Once on his own, he smoothed out the napkin. The creased surface revealed the line in Siltarinese script, in Tay's resolute handwriting. Maya Zabarin, Tieni Rinde. Let's go back. Meet you outside. The cool breeze felt welcomingly fresh on the night streets. Tay opened the box he carried, took the award out of its silks, and regarded it with a thoughtful stare. Gold letters glistened in the murky glow of streetlights. Huh, so it was actually real, he muttered. Tay's face seemed oddly content despite the dark shadow of worry. Dimare would be proud. A funny feeling though, bit weird. He glanced over at Nesteri, busy with his phone. What you doing? Updating our pages. Oh, what? Posting some snaps from tonight. A simple thing, but it helps spread the word. People share photos and such, and then more people see them. That's how it works. Tay looked at the screen and cringed. I've never seen so many portraits of me in my whole life. Kinda creepy. Yeah? Decided then. I'll print them. All of them. And stick them on the walls. You're welcome. Get off. You just don't get it. Photos are great. It's like catching the butterflies of time, you know? Any moment you want, you can make it stay forever. I like that. A vision from childhood floated through Hagal's mind. The tinkling of the creek, the warmth of the sunshine. His eyes opened wide in wonder, blue butterflies fluttering past, sparkling like gemstones. The breeze whispered in the grass, and the entire world was just meadows and skies, skies and meadows, and flowers and summer never ending. The butterflies of time. I wonder how you tolerate this thing burning your fingers, Hagal said. It's rather vexing. Nesteri shrugged. Yeah, I guess. I told myself to ignore that. It's for a greater purpose. Tay breathed out through his clenched teeth. Too long. Too bloody long. He stuck the award back in its box and pressed down the lid. Light and all gods, he added more slowly, trying to squelch the exasperation bubbling in him. All this noise didn't make him pay attention. I don't know what would. The hell is wrong with him? Tonight, I can't believe he didn't turn up, lazy arse. He must be looking for us too, Nesteri said. He switched the phone off and slid it in his back pocket. Surely. That worries me even more, Tay frowned. It would mean that we are bloody useless, the whole lot, after all this time. They stopped outside of the parking block. Even in daylight, no one would call it pretty. Painted by shadows, its drab grey facade with a dimly lit entrance had something unsettling about it. Nesteri called the lift. Be right back. A few moments later, the central platform whizzed and went down. The metal touched the ground with a soft clank. Nesteri drove out and stopped the car for Tay and Hagal to get in. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, his tie and jacket gone. Copying my style? Tay smiled impishly. He threw his own jacket on the back seat next to Hagal and pulled off his bow tie with a relieved sigh. This neck ribbon. He scowled, undoing his collar buttons. It's ridiculous. It's something girls should wear. The night drive home was peaceful, like a meditation. The full moon shone on the empty road, blessing its wet surface with scattered shimmer. Nesteri looked in the rearview mirror. In the cold moonlight, Hagal's face appeared drawn and tired. Hagal, you're right. You're too quiet, even by your standards. Hagal wrinkled his forehead. His gaze was fixed on the darkness outside the window, dotted with lights flitting past. I've never been known for excessive verbosity as far as I'm aware, he replied, undoing his bow tie with the air of resignation. And what to talk about? I've had enough. This planet drains me. I'm worried about Farin. Aren't we all? And I wouldn't mind some sleep. I'm not a night owl like you are. Or a night raven, rather. Tay smirked, nodding at Nesteri's left wrist. Small silver raven, a distant memory of Dra, twinkled on his strap leather bracelet. Night is when the stars come out, or go out, Nesteri quipped. He tried to hide the stinging sense of danger that troubled him since earlier. He chuckled at those words, recalling many a merry night out back in his academy days. I can second that. Very well, but without me. I'm going home. A corner of Hagal's lips twitched into a smile. Cheer up. I'm sure we will be out of here soon, Tay said, and this mess is a one-off. He's alive. We'll find a way. Just as he said that, the road lights blinked. They flashed on and off again, like an old sea lantern in a stormy wind. More flicker, and they were all gone, plunging the highway into blackness. Only the moon shone lonely above, a single eye. Strange tension trembled in the air. Oh, hello, remarked Nesteri almost nonchalantly, dropping the speed. That didn't take long. For the love of... Hagal rubbed his face. The last thing we needed... A dazzling blast hit the road in front of them before he finished his sentence. Nesteri threw his arm up over his eyes and slammed on the brakes. The car skidded on the slippery road, tires screeching. Damn! Tay, with his seatbelt loose as always, was thrust towards the windscreen. Even his trained reaction didn't quite stop the close encounter. For Mru's sake! He rubbed his forehead and grumbled something about lame drivers. I wouldn't mention the name of the god of death right now, Nesteri retorted coldly. Next time, you drive. He looked down at the space that separated them from hitting the divider. There was hardly a hand's width. Lucky, he muttered under his breath. The door was blocked, but there was no time to turn the car around. Tay and Hagal were already outside. Nesteri slung over Tay's seat and jumped out. Tay nodded without a word. They all knew what to do. The quarter spread apart, away from the car. The night embraced them with coolness. The smell of rain still lingered in the air. The quiet was deceptive. Kekai energy shields shimmered around dimly, a demonoid's trick. Blasphemous runes oozed dark red against the night sky. The quarter were locked in. Next moment, a thunder of explosions shook the ground. Molten asphalt and metal blasted into the air, thick with the stench of burning. A hole in the road gaped like a fresh wound, widening slowly, collapsing inwards. When the wind cleared the dust, pale moonlight painted two demonoid figures, Renji, red-haired Facial, and his comrade Nedros, cross-eyed and blotchy like a stray dog. Attackers nearly instantly divided, dark uniform merged with the shadows. Their faces weren't new. The demonoids had been on the quarter's trail for long enough to get their patience trained. Fight after fight yielded no results but humiliation and cohort's ridicule. Two warriors unable to take down a bunch of kids. It was inconceivable how the four youngsters did it, and by what miracle the bastard light stars were still alive, but it was the time to bring this to an end. You missed again, you blind fucking toad! Fatil cursed at Nedros in dark speech. Shut up, loser, you know better! Nedros hissed back. Tay attacked first. Deadly streaks of amarantine flashed across the road. Nedros dodged the blow and struck back at once, singeing Tay's hair and his right ear. Dazzling flames clashed and swirled through the gloom, shined in every raindrop, shrouding all in a halo of glow, bewitching and deadly. Those who made combat their path of life should know enough about loss not to be swayed by it. Fighting without fearing felt odd. There were 3 against 2, but what the quarter gained in number, they lacked in experience. Fatil fought both Nester and Hagal at once, with the air of arrogant nonchalance. He was in no hurry. The demonoid was good, and he knew it. The wound on Hagal's leg proved it too well. Hagal was slowing down. His next mistake could be lethal, Tay realized. As soon as that, he saw Hagal slipping in the puddle of blood and falling down, opening his back to Fatil's blow. Hagal! They started to run, but Nester was faster. He leapt forward, showing Hagal out of the line of attack. They rolled on the road together and hit the divider with a thump. Tay jerked aside to parry Nedros' blow. Fatal joined him. The double force was slowly but mercifully crushing Tay's defense, pushing him to the ground. Think of something quick, Tay ordered himself feverishly. Time itself was his enemy now. The triangle attack. His teacher's words swam up in his head. If one of you is missing or wounded, use the triangle. Tay bit his lip. It might be too late now. Suddenly, Nedros let out a shrieking yell and sunk down, his convulsing hands trying to reach for the horrid burn on his face and chest. Nester appeared from the shadows and stood by Tay's side. Fatil glanced at his comrade startled. That moment of destruction was enough. Tay gestured the sign of the triangle. Hagal forced himself up, using the divider as support. A heartbeat later, a threefold strong energy jolt crushed onto the demonoids in a blinding wave, blasting them out of this dimension back to where they came from. The portal collapsed, the ceiling Kekai shields burst and disintegrated. The battlefield was plunged into silence. Tay took a deep breath, then smiled dryly. Knocked out by such an old trick. Amateurs. He dusted his sleeves and trousers with little effect. His fancy clothes weren't made for this, that's for sure, Nester muttered. Hagal, you right? Hagal tore off the ragged bottom of his trousers and made an improvised bandage. I'll sort you out as soon as we're back, Nester promised. That would be appreciated, thanks, Hagal said, walking unsteadily towards the car. Tay helped him in. We must get out of here, he urged. Aye, Captain. Nesteri walked around, incinerating any traces of blood before returning to the driver's seat. All clear. He slammed his door shut and glanced in the wing mirror. It was miraculously intact. A kingdom for a shower and sleep. What about the hall? Tay nodded at the road. Nesteri popped his head out of the window and paused for a moment, contemplating. We should be able to go over it if we drive fast enough, he finally replied. It's not that big. You are crazy, Tay stated with a wary grin. And I guess sometimes it's a good thing.